Good morning. Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. This is the second module on design of FIR filters using window method. So in the previous module, we saw how to design the FIR filters using rectangular window. Today in this module, we shall take up an example and try to really design and implement the filter. So let's take an example. Good morning. Good morning. Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. This is the second module on design of FIR filters. Design of FIR filters using the window method. And we shall have a quick recall of what we saw in the previous module. We saw that as a first step, we are given the design involves we are given the frequency response h of omega, and we need to compute we need to obtain the impulse response of the design of the digital filter h of n. And as a first step, we have to compute h of n, which can also be identified as the Fourier series coefficients of the periodic frequency response h of omega. And once we get this, second step, we truncate it from minus m to plus m, where n is of length 2m plus 1. We truncate it to a finite duration by multiplying h of n with a rectangular window function, where w of n is given by 1 for minus m, 2 plus m, and 0 otherwise. And after multiplying, we have a finite length impulse response, and this impulse response h of n actually exists from minus m to plus m, and we give it a right shift by m to make it a causal system. So this was the design procedure, and then we have the causal impulse response h of n. So these are the steps involved in designing an FIR filter using the rectangular window function. So now we'll take up an example, a specific example. Let us say our aim is to design an FIR filter. Design an FIR filter, a low pass filter with a cutoff, say omega c, which is given by say pi by 4 as an example. Omega c pi by 4, and say length n equal to 7. And in the window method of design, the length of the filter is always odd. N is always odd. And so this is the problem statement. And now let's try to compute the design the filter. So the step 1. Let's first draw the given response h omega, because always visualizing makes it easier. So we are given the filter from minus, and we always have it's periodic, so can either sketch it from minus pi to plus pi or 0 to 2 pi. Since it's a low pass filter, I find it convenient to take the interval minus pi to plus pi. So what we're given is a filter, a low pass filter with a cutoff of minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4. With a gain of 1. So this is what is given. So now we need to evaluate the integral, that is the Fourier series coefficients, and that of this periodic h of omega, and that becomes minus pi by 4 to pi by 4 in this example, and the gain is say 1 e to the power of j omega n d omega. And now if I try to evaluate it, I have e to the power of j omega n divided by j n, and for the limits minus pi by 4 to pi by 4. And this makes it 1 by 2 pi e to the power of j n pi by 4 minus e to the power of minus j n pi by 4 divided by j n. And I have h of n equal to 1 by pi n e to the power of j n pi by 4 minus e to the power of minus j n pi by 4 divided by 2j. And this can be recognized as sine n pi by 4, sine n pi by 4. So now let me make it as a sinc function, and so I multiply and divide by 4. I multiply and divide by 4. And when I multiply and divide by 4, what I have is I have the result as 1 by 4 sine n pi by 4 divided by n pi by 4, which is nothing but 1 by 4 sinc n pi by 4. And we can also recognize pi by 4. Our cutoff frequency omega c is given by pi by 4. So now I have my final result h of n of the low pass filter. Of the low pass filter with the cutoff omega c is given by, I can write it as omega c by pi, which is 1 by 4 sinc n omega c. Or in this particular example, it becomes 1 by 4 sinc n pi by 4. This is the first step. So now for the second step, what we having computed h of n, we can always attempt to plot this impulse response or the design filter h of n. Let's try to evaluate it for different values of n and try to plot the values. So we know that for n equal to 0. So if I try to compute h of 0, I put n equal to 0. We know the sinc function is 0 for the sinc function is 1 for n equal to 0, and hence h of 0 in this case becomes 1 by 4 or 0.25. And let me compute for h of 1. What is h of 1? 1 by 4 sinc pi by 4. So let's how much is that? Let's just evaluate it. For this, I'll take the help of MATLAB. So I have my n equal to 1, and for n equal to 1, my h is equal to sine n pi by 4 divided by n pi by 4. Into yes, 1 and into there's also a 1 by 4 term. So 1 by 4 into n pi by 4. So I have the value as 0.22. So I have the value as 0.22. Next, I compute h of 1 and h of 1, and we will also recognize that this is same as h of minus 1 because its a sinc function is an even function, and hence h of minus 1 is also 1. Now let me compute h of 2. Let's compute h of 2. So this becomes 1 by 4 sinc 2 pi by 4. So let's evaluate. Once again, let's take the help of MATLAB. And now I need to put n equal to 2. And then it is my h is 1 by 4 sine n pi by 4 by n pi by 4. Let's evaluate it. That is 0.159. So I have the value as 0.159. Next, say I compute h of 3. Similarly, when I put h of 3, n equal to 3, in the above expression, I put n equal to 3, and then I can compute the value of h of n for n equal to 3, and I have the value as 0.05. Point 0.075, sorry, 0.075. And then if I try to compute h of 4, we will get it as 0. Let's put n equal to 4. It's almost e power minus 18 is almost 0. It's 0, so we take it as 0. Then I compute h of 5 and so on. So now if I try to write my h of n as a sequence, I have the result as at n equal to 0.25, and then I had h of 1 as 0.22, and by symmetry h1 and minus 1 is same. Then I have 0.159 and 0.159, and then I have h of 3 as 0.075 and 0.075, and then there is a 0, and then there's a 0, and I can continue further, and the series doesn't end. So now when I can always try to plot this impulse response h of n. So 0.22, then 0.25 for n equal to plus or minus 1, then 0.159 for plus or minus 2, then 0.075 for plus or minus 3, then it's a 0. Then because it's a sinc function, it will go negative, and again it's going to be a 0 at 8, and then it turns positive, and so on. So similarly on the negative, it's a sinc function, so this is how it goes. This is the Hn that we get, which is of large length, by just computing the integration for the given cutoff frequency. This is a step 1. Step 2, what we'll do is, we'll take a window function of length minus n to plus n. And in this case, it is 1 for minus n to plus 1 and 0 otherwise. And in this case, we recognize that n equal to 3. And hence now let me sketch my window function. My window function w of n, and this is going to be from minus 3 to plus 3. It takes the magnitude of 1. For plus 3, and it is 0 otherwise. So now I multiply. As a next step, I'm going to multiply my h of n, what we got here, this hn with the window function. So when I multiply, what I get is, so I'm going to have my product hn into wn, my rectangular window function. Now when I multiply, my product is going to be of finite duration. So now I have it as 0.25, n equal to 0, 0.22, then 0.159 and 0.075. So -3 to +3 and all other terms now become, we are forcefully making it 0 because of our, thank you. Yes, so we take the product and then we have the finite, duration FIR filter. So now if I can now write my filter as, see, only these values. So when I take the product, I just have these values. So now my H of n. Now my H of n after multiplying is this. And we know that we have the origin at the center. Now this is a non-causal system. So as a step 3, all that we have to do is just shift it. So my final design filter H of n is going to be the same, going to be the same sequence. But instead of the origin being at the center, now I'm going to shift my origin here. And then I have a causal FIR filter. So now if I sketch the impulse response of the designed filter, say I call this as HD of n, the final design filter is 0.075, then 0.159, then 0.22, 0.25, 0.22, 0.159 and 0.075, and we have, as required, we have a filter of length 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this completes my design. So if I ask what is the filter design, this is my filter. This is my design filter HD of n. And I can have other methods of representing the filter. Suppose I want to get I can also represent the same my design filter as say 0.075. This is the same impulse response that we have. We can write it as shifted impulses plus say 0.159 delta n minus 1 plus 0.22 delta n minus 2 plus 0.25 delta n minus 3 plus 0.22 delta n minus 4 plus 0.159 delta n minus 5 plus 0.075 delta n minus 6. This is another way of representing the same impulse response of the design filter. Now immediately I can have the transfer function representation of the filter. And what is my transfer function? I just take the Z transform of the above, and what I get is 0.075 plus 0.159 Z inverse, because we know that the transform of delta n minus 1 is Z inverse, plus 0.22 Z power minus 2 plus 0.25 Z power minus 3 plus 0.22 Z to the power of minus 4 plus 0.159 Z power minus 5 plus 0.075 Z to the power of minus 6. So this is the transfer function H of Z. I can write it in the other form with all positive coefficients if I require as 0.075 Z to the, I multiply and divide all the terms by Z to the power of 6. Then I get 0.159 Z to the power of 5 plus 0.22 Z power 4 plus 0.25 Z power 3 plus 0.22 Z square plus 0.159 Z plus 0.075 and whole divided by Z to the power of 6. So this is the same different way of representing the same sequence. What the advantage of representing in this manner is I can now find the roots of the numerator and the denominator and get the pole zero plot. So I can get the other representation, which is the pole zero plot. Pole zero plot. So now I have my numerator as these coefficients, and I can recognize my numerator coefficients as 0.075, 0.159, 0.22, 0.25, 0.22, 0.159, 0.075, and my denominator as 1. So now I can try to compute the pole zero plot as another form of representing the same design filter. Just to check, of course, we know the system is stable, but we can always try that. Now, since factorizing a sixth order polynomial is not that easy, once again, I'll take the help of MATLAB to get the pole zero plot. So we have the numerator polynomial as 0.075, 0.159, 0.22, 0.25, then 0.22, 0.159, and 0.075. This is my numerator and my denominator is 1. So to get the pole zero plot, we have a inbuilt MATLAB command wherein we key in the numerator and denominator polynomials, and it will give me the pole zero plot. So this is what I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 zeros located here. And what was my cutoff? I have designed my cutoff as pi by 4. So my cutoff lies here. This is my cutoff. Plus pi by 4. Minus pi by 4. So this is my cutoff frequency of my low pass filter, and all my zeros are located on the unit circle, and they are in this manner. And we have 6 poles, all poles located at the origin. So since the poles are within the unit circle, the system is stable. But of course, all FIR filters are stable. So now if I look at the pole zero plot, I have 6 poles here. I have 1. I have 6 zeros, and all the zeros are located on the unit circle. And where are my zeros? I had a 0 here, 1, 2. They are, and the zeros lie as complex conjugate pairs. So this is how the pole zero plot of the designed filter. Next, if I want to implement this filter, say I want to implement the filter. Say implementation. Implement the filter. So I have one method. Method 1 is the direct form method. Direct form method of implementation, wherein I consider all my I have 6 delay elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 delay elements. My input is xn, and each is a delay element. So, and then I have an adder, and my output of the adder is going to be my yn. So what is my first branch has again? Let me draw all the branches. I need to add 7 terms to get my filter. How are the branch gains now? The first branch has a gain of 0.075. The last branch also has a gain of 0.075. The second is 0.159. The last but one is also 0.159. Next is 0.22, 0.22, and 0.25. So this is what we have as the direct form implementation of the design filter. Now I can, since we have symmetry in the coefficients, the first and the last term being similar, second last and the next one being similar. Because of the symmetry, we can have another method of representing, which is known as the linear phase representation. Linear phase representation of the same filter. Now, how do we get that? What happens there is we try to exploit the symmetry that exists in the coefficients. So 1, say 2, 3. So I have 6 delay elements. Number of delay elements are not reduced. The number of delay elements continues to remain the same. What we are reducing in the linear phase implementation is we are reducing the number of multipliers. So I have my input x of n, and finally I have an adder, and the output of the adder is going to give me my output yn. What we found is the first element and the last element, they both have a gain of 0.05. So I multiply it by 0.075, this gain. The second and the second last element, they both had an identical gain, and the gain was 0.159. Similarly, the third and the third from the last, they have an identical gain, and the gain was 0.22. And we had a single branch, the central value having a gain of 0.25. So this is known as the linear phase implementation of the FIR filter, wherein we have 6 delay elements and we have only 4 multipliers. So this is an efficient method of design as compared to the earlier one, where we had same 6 delay elements, but we had 7 multipliers. 7 multipliers. So this is the efficient implementation or the linear phase implementation of FIR filters, wherein we are trying to reduce the number of multipliers because of the symmetry that exists in the impulse response coefficient. So with this, we complete the design of the filter. So we took the required frequency response, we computed the coefficients, and then we have implemented the design. We also saw the implementation as an efficient linear phase implementation or a direct form implementation. We looked at the post-zero plot. We saw how the zeros are located, and we also found that it's a stable system. Of course, all FIR systems are stable. Now to test. Now we would always like to test our system. Test the designed system. So how do we test the design system? We need to compute h of omega, because what is given to us as a design specification is h omega, and for h omega we have tried to compute an impulse response. We have to check now, is this the design filter having the same response as what was desired. So let's take h of omega. And what is h omega? We know that it is h omega is nothing but the Z transform at e bar j omega. And what was, so now we have 0.075 plus 0.159 e to the power of minus j omega plus 0.22 e power minus 2j omega plus 0.25 e to the power of minus 3j omega plus 0.22 e power minus 4j omega plus 0.159 e power minus 5j omega plus 0.075 e power minus 6j omega. This is how we can get the frequency response. Once again, because of the symmetry in the coefficient, 0.075 into 1 plus e power minus 6j omega, I can rewrite it as plus 0.15159 into e power minus j omega plus e power minus 5j omega plus 0.22 into e to the power of minus 2j omega plus e to the power of minus 4j omega and plus 0.25 into e to the power of minus 3j omega. So I can do this once again, and I simply have to put different values of omega, and I can get the into 1 plus e to the power of minus j 6 omega. Let me compute. This is the first term. Then I need to add one more term, h omega equal to h omega plus 0.159 into e to the power of minus 2 minus j omega plus e to the power of minus 5 j omega. I took the second term. Now let me add the third term, h omega plus 0.22 into 2j omega and minus 4j omega. And then I need to add one more term, h omega plus 0.25. And 3. So this is my final. I just put it added term by term, and I have computed. Now let us try to plot. Plot the magnitude spectrum omega versus magnitude of h omega. So this is what we have got as the magnitude spectrum. See, we started off with the design of a low pass filter, which is having a cutoff of pi by 4, and this is the plot we have got of the magnitude spectrum. So if we look here, pi by 4. This is pi minus 3.14 to plus 3.14, and this is the spectrum we are getting for the design filter. So now if I try to sketch my design filter frequency response, since I have taken the help of MATLAB, I was able to implement this omega, the magnitude response, say minus pi to plus pi. And what I have is I have some ripples, and then I have it goes up, and then this is what I'm getting. So this is the frequency response of that of the filter that we have designed. But what is it we wanted? We actually wanted a filter with a sharp cutoff that has a cutoff frequency of minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4. This is what we wanted, and this is what we have got. This is what we have got. Of course, let me draw it a little better. It has to be symmetric, even symmetry. So this is a response that we have got. So definitely we will all agree that the design filter is a very poor representation of our required specifications. Now the question arises, how do I improve the design? I can definitely improve the design by the immediate answer we get is just we have to increase m. So instead of, we started with the m equal to 3. Now instead of m equal to 3, maybe I make m equal to 10 or m equal to 20, m equal to 30 and so on, which will then give me n equal to 21, n equal to 41, n equal to 61, etc. So by increasing m, my length of the filter, my representation of the filter is going to improve. And we have taken with n equal to 7. Now this example that we have taken is n equal to 7. And we find that it's a very poor representation of the desired frequency specifications. So now what we shall do, of course, this is one method of computing. Another simpler method, say, to compute the frequency response. Method 2. First method was to define omega and then compute, implement h of omega. Second method is we have the impulse response of the design filter as 0.075, 0.159, 0.22, 0.25, 0.22, 0.159, 0.075. I simply compute hk as the n point, not n. Some, let us say 100 point. Say I can compute say some 100 point DFT of h of n, and then I will have I take the magnitude absolute value of h of k, and then I have my response. So let's check whether we get the same result. Of course, when I do an DFT, I get it from 0 to n. So that is another way of computing. Let's do the same for the same example. So this was one method of computing the frequency response, and what result we got? This is the result we got. It's having some ripples and then it goes up. It is symmetric around the center, and this is the response we got when I defined omega and I computed. Another way of computing the same response is simply define my sequence h of n as 0.075, 0.159, 0.22, 0.25, 0.22, 0.159, and 0.075. Let me correct it here, 0.075. So this is it. Let me look at my impulse response. I can simply plot my head. I can see my impulse response. This is my impulse response of the design filter. It goes in this manner. And of course, I need to define my what is my n. N goes from 0 to 6, and then if I try to plot, plot a discrete plot of my sequence. This is my impulse response that goes from 0 to 6, and it's a causal system. And yes, so now let us try to get the frequency response. A simpler method is simply to compute the FFT of the sequence Hn. Hn some large number. Let me take it as say 100, and I compute it, and then I try to plot. If I want to define my frequency, say f, if I define it from 0 to n minus 1, that is, since I've taken 100 point DFT into 2 into pi divided by 100, and then let me plot my result, absolute value of the FFT command. See, now this is what I get the plot. This was very simple. Instead of computing doing omega, e per j omega, e per 2j omega, and etc., I get the same result. Another simpler method is simply compute the FFT, a large point FFT, and this is the result we get. Of course, when I do an FFT, it computes from 0 to n. I can always write a program to compute it from minus n to plus n. So this is another method of computing the frequency response of the design filter. So now, having seen this, now let us, n equal to 7 was a reasonable number to compute it, compute using. So we get the same result even by using the DFT command. So now, of course, here what happens is, instead of giving the response from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, it gives me the response from 0 to pi. So now I have my design filter's response in this manner. Whereas my actual design filter specifications were somewhere like this. This is my design filter frequency response. So now let us see what happens if I increase n. So let us see what if I increase m, which is same as increasing n. Now, since n becomes large, computing manually becomes difficult. So just to observe what happens when I increase n, let's once again go to MATLAB. And now here what I will do is, instead of working on the command window, let me, I have typed in the same code. See, omega, my cutoff frequency was pi by 4. And then I've set my m equal to 3 and my n is 2m plus 1. And I'm computing my coefficients for 1 to m, which was omega. By integration, I got the value as omega c by pi, sinc omega n omega c. So that is sine n omega c by omega c n. My h of 0, and then I get my hn as flipped. So I flip it and then I have a center value and then this. So this is what I have. And because I have already truncated to m values, and I don't have to multiply, I'm just multiplying it by 1. I'm taking some larger value, say 25 times n, and then I'm computing the FFT, and then I can get the impulse response and the magnitude response. Of course, I can also do the phase response. Let's run this program, the same code, same omega c. When I run it, let us see what happens. So this is what I have. I have the magnitude response of the design filter in this manner. Let us see. I have one peak here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can actually look at the frequency response and tell the order of the filter. See, I have this is 1, 4, 5, 6. So this is the order of the filter, and the number of ripples that I find is same as the order of the filter. Now instead of 3, what we retain the same cutoff frequency, and let me increase m. Now let me make it as m equal to 5. What happens if m equal to 5? I'm going to get an impulse response of length 10 of 2m plus 1, I mean 11 of impulse response of length 11. So let's run the code and see what happens if I increase. So now look at the frequency response. We'll all agree that it is definitely better. It's become more sharper. The transmission band has become narrower, and let's count the number of ripples. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's the number of ripples is very closely related to the order of the filter. So, and if this is my frequency response of the design filter, and how about my impulse response? This is my impulse response. Now I have 11 filter of length 11. Let me define n. Say n equal to 0 to n minus 1, because then I can have it as. So this is my magnitude response of the design filter, and this is the impulse response of the design filter, that is of length 11, but it goes from 0 to 10. So now let us see what if we look at the magnitude response, there is I closed it. So if I look at the magnitude response, let us look at the maximum value. It goes beyond 1. It is higher than 1. The magnitude is higher than 1. Let us see what is the maximum value. Maximum value of ABS of H of K. What's the maximum value? See, my ideal filter requirement is only you should have a maximum value of 1, but it is more than 1. So now let us see what happens if I further increase the number of terms in my FIR filter. Now instead of 5, I now change my M to say 20. I'm going to make my number of terms to 20. So I'll have a filter of length 41. So let me run it. See, so now this is my magnitude spectrum of the filter. How is it? I see it's become even more narrower. The transition band has decreased in width, and I have a better representation, and I still have the ripples. I still have an undershoot and an overshoot. There is the magnitude response going below and above 1, and this is it. This is my magnitude response of the design filter. And how is my impulse response? This is my impulse response. So of length going from 0 to 40. 0 to 40. So length is 41. And you see, this is how my design filter. This is my symmetric, even impulse response having even symmetry in the coefficients and the design. So now let us see what is the maximum value of the overshoot. It is 1.09. It has not, the overshoot has not become 0. I made the number of values as 41. Let me make it further higher. Say I put m equal to 30 and let's run and see what about the, see now again there's a further improvement in our design. The transition band has reduced further. However, the undershoot overshoot remains, and the number of ripples, as I said, is very closely related to the order of the filter. As I increase the order of the filter, the number of ripples increases. However, the energy content in the ripples reduces. Let us see what's the maximum. It still remains as 1. Earlier it was 1.09, 1.08. So this is one of the major drawbacks of the rectangular window. So what is our observation? Of course, I mean, this was not possible to be done manually. So hence I had to resort to some tool, and being comfortable with MATLAB, I have used MATLAB. So now what is our observation? As n increases, the frequency response. The frequency response of the design filter yes, so sorry for that. So now what's our observation? What we find is if I increase n, the order of the filter, then my design frequency response, I have some overshoot, and then I have some ripples, and there is and this transition band, if I call this as my transition band, this transition band reduces with increasing order, and the error reduces. The error, if I define error as the difference, if I define error as the difference between the designed and the desired response, the error also decreases because the energy in the ripples decreases. But one component that does not decrease is the overshoot. This value continued to remain at 0.09%. 0.09%. So the overshoot does not decrease even with increasing n. Does not decrease even with increasing n. And typical overshoot is around 0.09%. So we have this overshoot that does not decrease even with increasing n, and this is the major drawback of using a rectangular window. Using the rectangular window. So hence we need to explore whether we can come out with other window functions, and this overshoot, the problem of overshoot is not there. The problem of overshoot is removed. Can we come out with a solution wherein the overshoot is not present in the designed FIR filter? And the answer is yes. And then the answer to this question is yes. And we need to use other window functions. And not instead of the rectangular window function. So this is something we shall see in the next class. And this problem of overshoot not decreasing even with increase in n in the frequency response of the design filter, this is known as the Gibbs phenomenon. So what we have done in the rectangular window, if I take my rectangular window, we are using a window that retains for minus m to plus m. It takes a value constant, and this is how we have taken our rectangular window function, and all others being this, and the value being constant. This is our rectangular window function. When instead of having a rectangular window function, if I use some other window function that is again going to multiply but truncate it from minus m to plus m, but which will have a gradual transition from 0 to 1. And again, there is of course, it has to be a symmetry. So this is what we shall replace the rectangular window function by other window functions. Which are 1 at n equal to 0 and decrease gradually as increases, and it tapers down towards 0 at n. And this, when I use these other window functions, then we will have this problem of overshoot or the Gibbs phenomenon not being present, and we'll have a better design of our FIR filter. So this is something we'll take up in the next module. To name a few window functions, we have, yes, we'll take this in the next module. Thank you.